Ladies and gentlemen, we're here.
I'm part of the Kliq, isn't everybody?
Yes! 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 I got an idea, yeah. Beat up John Cena!
Give me a hell yeah!
Oh, a little bit of the bubbly.
Too sweet! Here goes the mother! This is where the power lies!
I am the man.
If we can survive!
It's showtime, folks!
The following episode is scheduled for one fall, and it is for your listening pleasure. This is In The Kliq.
What's up, everybody? Baby Huey here, and sitting right next to me is my brother, Tommy. How's it going, Tommy?
Hey, good. How you doing?
And joining us virtually once again, our good brother from Pro Wrestling 101 on Instagram. It's Richard. How's it going, Richard?
Good, guys. How are you?
Good, guys.
Good.
I was going to say good guys, good brothers.
Oh, yeah.
It all works here. It's a lot of goodness tonight.
Good moment.
Good moment. So,
Goody gumdrops.
yeah, so here we are once again back at it for another episode of In The Kliq. As always, please remember to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube, all that good stuff. And please rate, review, comment, and share the podcast. And follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at In The Kliq. So a lot of stuff to get into. So much going on this week in pro wrestling. Of course, we will do our weekly breakdown of all that happened on TV this week with Raw, NXT, SmackDown. But first, let's get into the clickbait news. So much going on, especially in the last few days. I mean, you know, it's a good week in pro wrestling as far as all the news that's coming out and just like Twitter and all the other social media outlets just exploding, all the wrestling news websites. So much to get into. So first things first, it looks like WWE is putting a big kibosh, specifically Vince McMahon, on their talent, the WWE superstars, using third-party companies, specifically like Twitch and Cameo. And he's pretty much WWE told their talent in like a conference call and whatnot that they pretty much have 30 days, 1 month to end all these partnerships that they have going on and just end it all. So this, of course, created a big storm on social media. A lot of people on both sides trying to explain it. And it's a lot to break down. And I see both sides of all this and what's going on. So, Richard, let's start with you. Your thoughts on WWE telling their talent to, you can't no longer use Twitch and the partnerships with Cameos. And I think even TikTok was mentioned in the reports. There's so much going on. I mean, these superstars are attached to so many different outside products. But yeah, your thoughts on all this.
I'm in agreement with WWE on it because that's where they get revenue for, and essentially the wrestlers themselves are cutting out the middleman or acting as if WWE is the middleman when it's not. They work for them, and if you're using WWE Big E as your username, you're using their intellectual property to make money elsewhere. So. And just putting this out there, but to all the fans that are outraged by this, because it feels like the last few days, Vince McMahon has been painted as the devil once again.
Yeah.
These people make more money than we do in a month than we probably make in a year. So don't feel so bad for them, folks.
Yeah, no, and it's actually very interesting, Richard, to hear you say that. And I mean, like, I applaud you to an extent, because there's a lot of people who feel the opposite. So I really feel like what your opinion is very much like kind of like the minority. But from a business standpoint, it does make sense from the WWE standpoint. It's really interesting to break this all down. And to follow up on that, so like, listen, it's been a few days since this report came out. So luckily for us, since by the time we're actually discussing this, there's a lot more info that came out there. And actually WWE released a statement about the whole thing. I guess they saw the whole backfire on social media and people's responses and reactions to all this. So I just want to read this quote, and then we'll kind of break it down from both sides. So WWE put out a statement that says, quote, much like Disney and Warner Brothers, WWE creates, promotes, and invests its intellectual property, i.e. the stage names of performers like The Fiend Bray Wyatt, Roman Reigns, Big E, and Braun Strowman. Also, WWE wrote in the statement, it is the control and exploitation of these characters that allows WWE to drive revenue, which in turn enables the company to compensate performers at the highest levels in the sports entertainment industry. Notwithstanding the contractual language, it is imperative for the success of our company to protect our greatest assets and establish partnerships with third parties on a company-wide basis rather than at the individual level, which as a result will provide more value for all involved. End of quote. So, listen, I know that's very big, wordy, fancy talk, business talk right there. So, okay.
Let me put it to you this way.
Yeah.
If WWE books you to do an autograph signing, you use the name that you use on TV, right?
Yep.
Now, if you do a autograph signing on your own and it's in a town over from where you're already doing it, potentially that hurts the business that you're going to do for the one that they set up for you, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So then why would it be okay for you to be able to do something like this and do a cameo or whatever? And they charge like $500 for some of these people.
Ric Flair's $500.
Well, Ric Flair's different.
Yeah.
That's Ric Flair.
Yeah.
You know, so I've seen them range from $120 to $350 or more, and it's just kind of like WWE's always handled this stuff. Like we've seen it with locally, big time wrestling. Like it's been a while, but like they used to send someone from WWE over there. Like Kenny's told us that he used to photograph, and they'd send the Undertaker or The Rock, and these are local wrestling promotions, and it's like they've always booked it. So it's like now these guys are signing it up on their own for it, using their star power with WWE and WWE on it, and making money off of it. So WWE is essentially saying you can keep the money that you've made, but in 30 days this is done. Yeah. So they're not asking the I can understand being outraged if they were fining superstars, or we found that out and saying a percentage of your paychecks going forward are going to be cut based off the money you've made.
Yeah.
But that's not happening. So
yeah, so I think for the sake of this discussion, let's look at both sides real quick and the pros and cons. So from the wrestler's standpoint, where a lot of people were upset about was for a lot of these superstars, they're not making a lot of extra income right now from live shows because there isn't any because of the pandemic. So all these house shows that WWE would have across the country in between episodes of Raw and SmackDown and merch sales at these shows, that's money the WWE superstars are not getting. So with all this free time, they're trying to think of other ways to make money. And so a lot of them have a big social media following. So they're like, okay, how can I take this following that I have and make some side income? So a lot of them have begun Twitch accounts and, done stuff with cameos. I just mentioned TikTok, all these different things. And so with that being said, I think for a lot of people, they really like this because for Twitch, it's a great way for a lot of them who have these free time when they're not working out or whatnot. They can be at home playing video games or doing whatever and interact with the fans. So I think for a lot of fans, they enjoy that opportunity to engage.
But they're paying for that subscription still. Like Paige is changing her name.
Yes.
And because she kind of put down what she's essentially making somewhere in the ballpark of like $80,000 a month on Twitch.
Wow.
Yeah. So and Paige is a different story there. That's a different thing because she's not full time on TV anyway anymore. So, but you see even Roman Reigns on Cameo and Big E, and it's like these are people that they could do their own WWE Cameo with, and the opportunity's not there because you're paying crazy bucks on their website and they're getting it.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up. So I'll get to that in 1 second. So I was just going to say also, what people are frustrated is, okay, because technically WWE, their employees are independent contractors. And so it brings up the whole debate again about what's the definition of an independent contractor under the WWE umbrella. So therefore, it should be okay for these superstars to go make money on their own, like do their own hustle, which is either make a Twitch account or a Cameo account. It brings up just that whole debate about, well, what's truly independent contractor? They're being treated like actual or they're being required to be actual employees for WWE. And if that's the case, then of course, where's the health insurance and all the other stuff that comes with that? If WWE wants to have that much control of who they are, how they conduct themselves outside of the ring, then they should be treated like employees. So it's very interesting how Tommy and I were talking about this yesterday. Just, it's amazing, like these same type of conversations that happened back in the 80s and early 90s, Jesse Ventura and, trying to unionize WWF at the time, how like it's very interesting. This mindset is kind of coming back again in those discussions. So
it wouldn't. Here's the thing though with that, it wouldn't work. If everyone's on that same playing field, then the effort won't be there. Yeah. You look at WCW when everyone was getting paid the most amount of money that they had been making at that point in time. It was lazy. Mm-hmm. Like some of the hardest working guys, your Booker T's, your Jeff Jarrett's, your Chris Benoit's, your Scott Steiner's were still behind all these guys that they could have been having matches with, but those guys were the big star attractions, didn't want to give them the rub, and made all the money. Yeah. So, you run into your issues there. It sounds nice, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, why should Roman Reigns work as hard as Buddy Murphy does if he's getting paid the same then? Yeah. They work hard to get paid more, and you're also paid more based off of your value to the company. Exactly. So, it sounds unfair, but at the same time, it's extremely fair because not everyone draws.
As far as the current system of being treated like independent contractors based on your value for the company. That's the
wrestling system. Yeah. Always has been and always will be.
So what I'm also trying to say was also with this situation is I wonder what's going to happen next. Can someone in the WWE, if one of these superstars, because there is rumors, speculations, quote, people's sources saying that some of these superstars are very upset. So I wonder if any of them will actually be big enough to stand up to Vince or whoever the powers that be and say, no, I'm not going to do this, or why should I do this? Or could someone actually maybe try to sue WWE? I mean, that's yet to be determined. That was just a lot of the backlash I was reading on social media.
We would also need to look at a WWE contract to decipher that.
That too.
Which none of us have. So it's kind of their word against theirs. So and at the same time, why do any of the fans need to have an opinion on this? This is their problem, not ours. That's the way I look at it.
And so with that being said, when I just reading that statement that I just read earlier, it kind of sounds like, well, listen, you superstars are making money off these names and these personalities that we created for you. So therefore we deserve a cut from it at least, or at least let us set up these deals so you can use your name on these different platforms and whatnot. So I mean, to a certain extent, I get what WWE is trying to say is let us make these deals for you. And of course they'll probably get a cut from it. So from a business standpoint, it makes sense for WWE to put the kibosh on all this stuff. All these WWE people kind of going wild, crazy, doing stuff. I wouldn't be surprised. Listen, okay, there's no meet and greets going on right now. There's no live shows. There's no interactions. I know, with the Thunderdome, they've kind of introduced some of these, fan video experiences, before pay-per-view, a superstar would sit down and, interact with people on the computer. So maybe WWE is in a process of trying to create their own new platform for fan interaction virtually, very similar to maybe they're trying to create their own Cameo version. You mentioned earlier, a WWE Cameo. I wouldn't be surprised if WWE sees this and be like, okay, we can't do meet and greets right now. What's the next best option? Oh, let's copy what Cameo's doing, but do our own version. So I would not be surprised if WWE told all their superstars, listen, don't do Cameo right now, But if I had to guess, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to create their own version in the coming months where fans could just pay WWE directly and get like a personalized video from the WWE superstars for this time period right now because of the pandemic. That's just me guessing. Like, we see how many different social media accounts, they see what one platform is doing really well and they try to copy that idea.
On top of that, didn't everyone basically sign new contracts before the pandemic?
A good portion of them. I mean, for the last couple years, it's been when AEW was getting some announced momentum. A lot of people were, WWE was trying to hurry up and sign as many people to new long-term deals.
But so everyone's making more money than they were last year anyway.
A good portion of them, you would assume, yeah. So I don't know what's. I mean, this is all speculating right now. Who knows what WWE has in plan to make up maybe for some of this lost revenue for some of these people. It'll be interesting. And also, you got to think about it this way, like real talk. I'm sure they don't want a lot of these superstars just be on Twitch and just blabbing whatever comes to their mind.
Yeah, anytime you see, AJ Styles or Paige or whoever, like they make news on there for saying something that the company probably doesn't want them to say. So
I mean, even Randy Orton got in trouble. What was it, last year or earlier, whatever it was, when he said a bad word. And there's AJ Styles got a lot of attention for venting about his frustrations with Paul Heyman and about the Good Brothers. So that became a story because of his Twitch stream. And so I'm sure WWE doesn't want their superstars to go on Twitch and just exposing the business in many ways and kind of venting about the dirt that's going on.
When you look at Lana, who has ruined 2 storylines now based off of her social media.
Yes.
So sometimes, these things are they get in the way.
Yeah. So listen, I know it's a very sensitive subject and I see both sides in this. And listen, as Rich, as you brought it up, like, it doesn't affect us personally. I mean, sure, we can discuss it till we're blue in the face, but at the end of the day, it's ultimately between WWE and their talent. And so, obviously, we want what's best for...
They're well-paid talent.
Yeah.
They're well-paid talent.
We want what's best for the superstars and them to be happy. We don't want... I hope that this doesn't turn into, like, bad morale behind the scenes. Just this upsets more people. I hope not. And I hope there's some sort of compromise. Like, I'm trying to see the silver lining in all this. Of course, it sucks if for some of them this will lose maybe a big portion of side income for them. But at the same time, hopefully WWE can think of something to kind of replace that or substitute the income from that. So, I don't know. I mean, we'll have to wait and see how this shakes out. But, like I said, but you even said Paige. I read the article, too, that she just said she has changed she couldn't use Paige on her Twitch stream or the logo.
She couldn't use WWE Paige.
She had to use all that stuff. So she changed her username, all that stuff. So maybe there is some sort of compromise for some of these Twitch people. But at the same time, it makes sense because, like, they're going out there and using the names that WWE created for them and make money off of, and WWE's not getting a cut of it. So, but then, of course, that raises up the other conversation about the definition of independent contractor and whatnot. So, anyway, we'll see how this plays out.
Listen. Soraya Knight is an independent contractor. Paige is not an independent contractor. Paige is WWF Intellectual.
Yeah, exactly. So
let's move on.
Yeah, well, like you said, I'm curious how we have 30 days or less than that now, and we'll see how this plays out. And we'll probably have another conversation about it very soon. All right, the next big thing that came out at the end of the week was a big release was announced. AOP, the Authors of Pain, was announced that they were leaving or were released from the company. Richard, man, I was a little heartbroken hearing the news about that. How about you? Your thoughts on it?
It sucks, but you kind of see it coming.
Yeah.
Like, it just injury after injury with those guys. And it's one comes back and then the other gets injured. And it's like anytime they get going, it's so if you're writing storylines for these 2 big monsters and each time they come back, you have to scrap it. Mm-hmm. It makes sense.
Yeah.
You heard for years with Hardcore Holly that he was a prick and everything, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until his later years when he started getting injured that's when they let him go. So it's like as long as you can stay healthy, you've got a job there for a while. And unfortunately, we see that with people from time to time that just can't stay healthy.
Yeah. How about you, Tommy? Your thoughts on this whole thing?
I just think WWE's biggest mistake they made with Akeem and Razor AOP was when they took Paul Ellering away from them, and it just seemed to be bad luck after bad luck on the main roster. And, I just don't know, it'd be interesting to see if they'll stay in pro wrestling.
Yeah, so let's talk about that real quick. So in NXT, yeah, they were monsters. It was super awesome seeing Paul Ellering manage them. I mean, a lot of people were making the comparison, this is going to be the modern day Road Warriors, and you got Paul Ellering, the man behind it all, managing them.
And plus, Paul Ellering wanted to travel with them.
Yeah.
He was more than open to do it.
So unfortunately, when they got called up to the main roster, yeah, things just fell apart, and they were just cursed from the beginning. They ditched Paul Ellering the first night on Raw, and then they got Drake Maverick as their manager, and that was kind of goofy because he was trying to dress like him, and he was terrible. Taking a leak on
oh, that's right.
Robert or Bobby. Was he still Bobby Roode at that time? Bobby Roode's his his outfit, his robe, and so, and then one of them got injured. They came back. And
the other one got injured.
The other one got injured, but when they came back the second time, they got a little bit of a repackage. They aligned themselves with Seth Rollins and were part of the whole Monday Night Messiah group, the faction. Along
I thought
Murphy.
It was looking good.
It was looking great. Like, I enjoyed them with the suits on, and they were talking like their
native
languages. And I was like, this is kind of badass. They look like badass like hitmen with the suits on. And
I think one is Dutch and the other's from Eastern Europe somewhere.
Yeah, so anyway, it was just like, okay, I can dig this, and they can kind of be the muscle for Seth Rollins, and like the whole Monday Night Messiah thing is kind of expanding. But yeah, unfortunately, the other one got hurt, and they were off TV. And so when you're injury prone, Rich, as you said, it's kind of tough to invest long term.
If you're programmed with someone like Seth Rollins, then you got to imagine that they've got plans for you. Because Seth Rollins is a top player in WWE, so it just kind of, it sucks for all parties because I'm sure WWE wanted to make some money with them and they can't.
Yeah, it's when you're aligned with Seth Rollins, who's a Grand Slam champion, and he's a former Universal Champion, WWE Champion. I mean, so
and he's one of the faces of the company.
Yeah, so that's a high position for them to be in. But yeah, it sucks.
And they were off TV for 2 years, just about. Like they weren't on a regular basis, so it's just kind of. I mean, they came in hot. When they first debuted, it looked like that they were going to get the push, and then gone.
Yeah. No, and I was just going to say real quick, also, it's just for them, Tommy, as you mentioned, I don't know what their long-term plans are. I mean, I know one of them has MMA background. So
they both have MMA
Oh, they both do?
Yeah.
I mean, they could totally...
One has a background in kickboxing, I believe.
Yeah, maybe they want to go back pursuing that. And I mean, of course, when the news was announced that they were released, everyone's like, oh my God, what other promotion could they go to? I mean, of course, people say AEW, but AEW has a stacked roster right now.
Or Impact.
I mean, I think, okay, of course, AEW would be interesting for them to go there and take out the Young Bucks and just
I think New Japan would be the best.
And that's what I was getting at. As I think ultimately New Japan would be really awesome for them to just their hard hitting style with the strong style over there. That would be super fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean it would be like a sport to them.
But I could see them, Impact doing stuff with the Good Brothers, and then, but also AEW, like I said, maybe taking out the Young Bucks or whoever over there. It's, I mean, hopefully they have options for them. So hopefully for them, they can have a clean, fresh start wherever they go. I hope they continue in pro wrestling because I consider them very fun. And I was, like I said, I'm bummed we didn't get to see more of them on Raw or SmackDown. I mean, I know it was rumored Paul Heyman thought of them as his new version of Road Warriors that we never got to see. So, but yeah, no, good luck to them, whatever they do next. All right, jumping on over to this was huge news early on in the week. This made the rounds, of course, of who was involved. So The Rock went to social media and announced that him and his wife and their 2 young children had COVID-19. Apparently they're better now, but it was a nasty time for them that they were very sick. And so, of course, with The Rock and obviously his fame and just his exposure and just how many people know of him, it made the rounds on pretty much every news outlet, sports news, all that stuff. And then it was also announced AJ Styles and Kevin Nash also had COVID-19 at one point. AJ Styles, now Richard, did he reveal that on his Twitch stream of all places?
I believe it was.
Okay, and then Kevin Nash.
His reply to it was just, it's worth a read. So I don't have it in front of me, but I'd recommend it.
Okay.
Listeners, go and find what AJ said, because it was essentially, I feel bad for the Rock's family. I had it. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Oh my God.
That's a nice AJ Styles impression.
Well, then
it was phenomenal.
No pun intended.
He didn't say that.
But then Kevin Nash, he also went on Twitter and announced that he had COVID-19 as well, and was responding to The Rock's tweet and stuff. So, I mean, that right there, The Rock, AJ Styles, and Kevin Nash all announcing they had COVID-19. That's big news right there. So, it sounds like all of them. I mean, obviously AJ is doing well. He's back on TV. He's been on TV for a minute. So I was trying to think, okay, he had to be off TV to recover / what's the word? Quarantine himself. So I was trying to think, maybe was it back in like June or July? He was off TV for a couple weeks, so maybe that's when it happened for him. Kevin Nash, I was concerned because he's an older guy now. You gotta be careful. The Rock, I mean, God, he's like our modern day Superman, our modern day Arnold Schwarzenegger, like as far as star power goes. So I just feel bad for him and his wife and his two young ones. But apparently they're all feeling better now.
They're all recovering.
The Rock did say like he still hasn't gained his taste back yet, which is like, that's scary.
Oh no, all that sushi.
I know. Was it like how many, like 5,000? I don't know how many. Like,
he eats a lot of sushi.
Oh, but he eats just so much food every day, so he probably can't like fully enjoy all that stuff to maintain his muscle mass. So anyway, hope all of them wish them a speedy recovery, and just hopefully we got to get over this pandemic. So please wear your mask out there, people. And last little bit of clickbait news for today was something we meant to get to last week, but I was just so busy we didn't have time to. But we just want to acknowledge the passing of Bullet Bob Armstrong. We definitely want to say our condolences to his family and friends. R.I.P. And Richard, please, forgive me, Kliqsters. I don't know too much about him. I know that he was the father for having 4 sons that were also in the wrestling business. Most notably, I think for a lot of people our age, was Road Dogg Jesse James. But Tommy had a son, Brad Armstrong, right?
Yes, he was a great worker.
And then there was obviously another son, Richard, that was a referee.
Scott, who still works at WWE as a producer now, and he was a WCW referee actually at one point. So, and Steve Armstrong, who Bob held tag team titles with.
So, that's awesome. Oh, like Rey Mysterio and Dominic, hopefully soon, maybe one day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, but no, it's very sad. I mean, he was 80 years old, I believe, or 81. So it's very sad to hear one of the great
he was 80
legends in the wrestling business pass away. So R.I.P. Bullet Bob Armstrong.
And he retired a year ago.
What?
He wrestled in 6 different decades.
Yep.
He debuted in 1960 and retired in 2019.
Yep.
Like, what kind of match, though, was that at 79?
He could still... I mean, I saw Bob Armstrong in the early days of NWA TNA when it was a weekly pay-per-view, and he teamed with his son. And it was just kind of like, this old man, and then he gets in there, and he's ripping up AJ Styles and Chris Sabin, and you know he could still go.
Oh yeah.
I mean he's not just some old man trying to do this still. It's like he could still go at a good level. I mean, he held titles in just about every decade, and very impressive.
Like Dory Funk Jr.
he's the thing with the Armstrong kids. Is they all got a little bit of Bob, but Bob had everything. So Brad was kind of like the best athlete of the bunch. Road Dogg clearly had the charisma. Yeah. And Steve and Scott were just good wrestlers, but Bob had everything. So
interesting.
Bob Armstrong, if for younger people out there, go and find some on YouTube and you'll be impressed.
It's from what I've been able to gather last week, a lot of people were commenting about this and just paying their respects and giving some stories from their own personal experience with him. Sounded like a great guy. From a lot of photos, he would still hang out with the wrestlers, and he was always like he had a big smile on his face. Like, he just looked like a very nice guy. And apparently he was just one of the great baby faces back in the day as well. I mean, apologize, I don't know more about him personally.
Here's a quick little fact about him.
What's that?
On October 9th, 1974, in Miami Beach, Florida, Bullet Bob Armstrong unsuccessfully challenged Jack Briscoe for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship.
Okay. Wow. So he was, which territory?
He's a main event guy.
Yeah.
He's mainly the South, like Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi.
From what I've heard, people, I don't know if it was Conrad Thompson or someone, I forgot who it was, said like he was ultimate baby face. People loved him. He just, was a great worker, had the looks of just a great baby face, and he's a fireman the whole time. He was a wrestler. Wow.
So he's a U.S. Marine veteran, and then while he was wrestling, he was also a fireman.
So he had to work 2 jobs still.
Yeah.
Man,
that was incredible, man.
That was before Twitch back then. He couldn't make money from Twitch back in the day. Yeah, so from everything I saw online about him, sounded like he was just an awesome person, a great ambassador, or just a representative of a great baby face for the pro wrestling industry. So rest in peace, Bullet Bob Armstrong.
Condolences to his family. Well, he just lost his wife, too. Like,
really?
They died like a month apart.
Wow. Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, our thoughts and prayers, obviously, with his family and friends, and Road Dogg. I know Road Dogg, still works with WWE, and so it was very cool that WWE acknowledged it on, I think it was that SmackDown,
NXT,
on NXT as well. So it was very cool. So, and the thoughts and prayers with them. All right, let's move on over to this week in pro wrestling, specifically WWE.
You know what this week is called in pro wrestling?
What's that?
A bad week for women's tag teams.
Really?
Yeah.
We lost 2 women's tag teams this week. All right, Monday night.
Okay, so let's jump to Monday Night Raw. So, a very fun episode of Monday Night Raw as far as the build-up to Clash of Champions. I'll say that. Raw, specifically the main focus of that show for the 3 hours was building up who was going to be Drew McIntyre's next opponent for Clash of Champions coming up at the end of September. So we saw, so please follow along. We saw 3 matches. The winner of those matches then fought each other at the end of the show in a main event, a triple threat, and the winner of that was going to take on Drew McIntyre. So we'll quickly brush over it. So we saw Keith Lee beat Dolph Ziggler. We saw Randy Orton beat Kevin Owens, who did get help from Aleister Black. We saw early in the night he was leaving Aleister Black's locker room. So little, partnership, but at least he had help for the one night. And then we saw Seth Rollins beat Dominic, who was a last-minute replacement, because the build-up in the promotion for this week's episode of Raw was that it was going to be Rey Mysterio versus Seth Rollins. But then during Raw, it was announced Rey Mysterio was injured. He had a triceps tear. Luckily, no surgery, but it's going to take about 2 months for him to recover. So Rey Mysterio is going to be not wrestling for 2 months, but I'm sure he could still be on TV in corner, representing Dominic, being his corner, like a manager.
Mm-hmm. His cornerman.
Yeah. So we saw Seth Rollins take on Dominic Mysterio, who was the replacement. Seth Rollins got the win there. And then in the main event, we saw Randy Orton taking on Keith Lee and Seth Rollins. And Randy Orton pulled out the victory and will now have his rematch for the WWE Championship against Drew McIntyre at Clash of Champions. So, Richard, just kind of overall thoughts about all these sets of matches. So, 4 total to determine Drew's next opponent?
I was pleasantly surprised because part of me wasn't paying that close of attention, so I thought the deciding match was going to be next week on Raw. So when it happened this week, I was like, oh, whoa, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
And I'm very pleased because we're going to get Randy Orton against Drew McIntyre again. And Clash of Champions is always a really fun pay-per-view because all the titles are on the line.
Yeah.
So,
I know I'm skipping ahead real quick, but I want to say this before I forget. I kind of got a kick out of on SmackDown this week. Paul Heyman kept saying Clash of the Champions, which I know that's super micro nitpicking, but Clash of Champions, that's WWE's pay-per-view. Clash of the Champions, that was what, WCW, right, Tommy?
Yeah, NWA, WCW on TBS.
So just that word, it's a big difference as far as my perception of what show are we getting here. So
to be fair, Paul Heyman did work there then.
Exactly. Paul Heyman had like a flashback. Clash of Champions?
Bust out his old cell phone.
Paulie Dangerously coming back for you. So anyway, I just want to say that before I forgot. So yeah, I'm excited here. I mean, the rematch but like early predictions. Do you think Randy's going to take the title here? It's tough, man. No.
I think Drew, since he got the roll up the last time, so to speak, I think he's going to win clean with the Claymore this time.
Okay. I agree.
Okay, and then plus, who knows, maybe Keith Lee get involved somehow too. I'm just, early thinking what might happen here. And so, jumping ahead, so kind of Richard foreshadowed it. So we saw the Riot Squad in a rematch from Payback. Taking on the Iconics, and this was kind of announced kind of like last minute. A lot of people just noticed this little graphic. It just came out of nowhere and says, oh yeah, by the way, the loser of this match, the tag team splits up. And so I was like, whoa, that's kind of a big deal. Mm-hmm. Richard's, he's got his eyes closed. Richard, you okay?
Go ahead.
Okay, so we saw this match happen, and the Riot Squad won, and unfortunately the Iconics are now split up. And so a lot of people were like shocked. It was like, wow, that was very sudden, unexpected, and no build up. At least if you're going to do something like this, at least have a build up and like get some drama out of it. I was kind of hoping if that's the case, like make a big deal, like maybe tease it and then do it next week. Or if you're going to do it, maybe have the Iconics come out and say, listen, we're pissed off that we lost to you last night at Payback. How about let's up the stakes for this match, our rematch tonight. Loser, at least acknowledge it on the microphones, like loser breaks up. So at least you add a little more drama to the match, a little build up. But no, it was like, okay, everyone thought we're going to have a rematch here. But then like last minute, they're like, oh yeah, loser breaks up. So it was very sudden. And then later on the night, in the third hour, we had Raw Underground take place. The Iconics were hanging out there with Shane McMahon. Great photo. Peyton Royce with Shane McMahon became an awesome, like, new meme. So we see the two of them there, and they're very upset about they're no longer a tag team. And then we've been seeing this kind of building, like, it makes sense now if we connect the dots, as far as we saw Peyton Royce and Billie Kay having these interviews saying, yeah, we've been friends since high school. And really now it makes sense they were foreshadowing this breakup. So they were with Shane McMahon at Raw Underground, and Peyton Royce pushes Billie Kay into the ring, or the mat, whatever you want to call it there for Raw Underground, and she gets her ass kicked by,
Marina Shafir and Jessamine Duke.
Yeah.
Jessamine Duke, yeah.
So, and then boom.
Roderick Strong's wife.
Yeah, she got knocked out. And I'm guessing bye-bye Billie Kay for the time being.
Ooh.
Well,
so
I mean, it was great though too, because she gets thrown in, and the first thing she does is she turns around and squawks, "You gotta be joking me!"
And so,
I mean, I'm super bummed because they're like in my top 3 favorite acts in WWE, and now it's gone. So
plus,
I'm heartbroken.
And yeah, they're a legit tag team too, especially in a time where they don't have enough women's tag teams, especially for the tag titles that they have. So, okay, so I'm glad like we're talking about Raw now versus like right away at the beginning of the week. So within the next couple days, there was a lot of rumors and reports about why this sudden change happened in splitting up the Iconics. So apparently, if you believe the rumors out there in the dirt sheets, apparently Vince McMahon sees Peyton Royce as a big solos wrestler.
They both have that potential.
Yes.
I think part of the problem is that they were off of TV for so long last year.
Yeah.
That like we feel like we're just getting them back, and now they're going away again. So it's like, well, I mean that potential. I mean, they're both fantastic wrestlers individually. That's the problem. So.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So when they were off TV for longest time, a lot of people, it was the rumors back then was that they were getting a repackage, and then when they showed up, they were just the same old presentation. It was like, okay, fine, whatever. So anyway, with the reports now is Vince sees Peyton Royce as a big single star and wants to give her a push. So that's why it was suddenly just broken up, and Billie Kay got, destroyed, and to really kind of maybe write her off TV for the time being. Now, also in these reports, they were trying to clarify Billie Kay is not being punished. What happened here, it was not supposed to be any form of punishment. Like, she didn't do anything wrong in this situation. It's just at the time being, they just see Peyton Royce as a star that they want to start pushing. Apparently, Vince McMahon sees Peyton Royce and Bianca Belair as two big single stars that he wants to start pushing, which I think is cool. I mean, I love Bianca Belair, and especially right now, Charlotte Flair's not around.
I think when you look at the landscape, like you were just saying, Charlotte and Becky are gone. You need to start building some of these other people so Asuka has someone to feed to, or Bayley or whomever. So yeah, I think it helps legitimize the entire landscape a little bit more for the main roster.
Yeah, and like, listen, I mean,
and they'll probably get back together at some point.
Exactly.
I mean, it was really hard. You knew they were going to get split when you saw them being interviewed earlier in the night, and you could tell both of them had been crying. Yeah. Like their faces, you could just see it on their faces, and it was just like, oh shit.
Well, and also I just want to say it was interesting as far as for Billie Kay. So they also said, she's not being punished. She's just going to be taken off TV for a time being. And there have also been rumors that a draft is going to be coming pretty soon. So maybe Billie Kay will be drafted over to the other brand. So maybe SmackDown, or maybe they have some other plans for her. So like I said, they just want to stress it was not a punishment. She didn't do anything wrong. They want to push Peyton Royce right now. Probably move Billie Kay somewhere else. She has great comedic timing.
They both do. They're infectious. It's so annoying. It's fun.
I know it's tough, but maybe this might be a good opportunity for them to have their own pass right now and see what they can do on their own.
And look, Billie, they've always seen something in Billie Kay, because when Billie Kay got signed, she was on SmackDown before she was on NXT. Mm-hmm. And then they moved her back to NXT when they needed people. Yeah. So, like, I remember seeing her on SmackDown and thinking, who the hell is this? Yeah. And it was like, oh, she's tall like Charlotte. And
I mean, listen, they're obviously amazing athletes, performers, wrestlers in the ring, gorgeous. Got the charisma, the comedic timing, all that stuff. So
they got everything.
Yeah. So for Billie Kay, if she can go over to SmackDown and kind of do her own thing as well, I think that'd be awesome. So Peyton Royce, and this is not my own personal opinion. This is something I just saw in a comment section. I don't know if it was on YouTube or something. But if you look at it, Peyton Royce, how she's really changed her look in the last few months, it's very interesting observation. Someone said in a comment, I'm just reading what I saw, was as far as they said Peyton Royce, when she got called up, she was a brunette, long brown hair, dark hair. She cut it short, but now it's blonde now. Or it was a slow transition. She had highlights. Now it's blonde now. Someone said she had contacts in, like blue.
She does.
Does she have blue? Okay. So someone said she's trying to mold what Vince McMahon looks for, like a Charlotte Flair. Like her look, she's trying to.
Well, I mean, if she is, she's putting in the work more than others. So
yeah, it's not like, listen, I mean, I who knows? Like, okay, she changed her hair color long before this split happened. So unless she knew something was coming for a long time, I mean, it's just coincidence. I don't know.
Well, and if Vince's type is the tall blonde, then what's Becky Lynch? Because Becky Lynch got shot to the moon.
Yeah,
exactly. More than any other woman in wrestling history.
Exactly. So I mean, for Peyton Royce, I mean,
well, then again, Becky and Vince are both Irish. So,
well, and also in Peyton Royce, I mean, lately in the ring, she's been outstanding. Like that one move where she like corkscrews them in the air and like takes them down. Oh, so good. So, like you said, best of luck to both of them. And of course, we're gonna miss that.
They're both gonna be fine. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do something for the next couple of weeks where one of them's wearing a mask and the other isn't. And they're still teaming. So
yeah. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens to both of them. So we wish them best of luck. And last thing I just want to touch on. This is more of just a news piece. I could have saved it for the clickbait, but it would make more sense to mention it during this Raw recap and review. So it was announced early on this week that Retribution is now only going to be Raw exclusive. So the members of Retribution, whoever it is not going to be on SmackDown anymore. It's only going to be on Raw only. So, of course, a lot of people were like saying, WTF? It's like, okay, if you're this...
Why tell us?
Yeah, if you're this faction that's like trying to take out WWE... why would you focus on one show versus the other show? Like, if you want to create havoc on WWE, you want to attack. You would think you want to attack both shows. So it's like, we're only good Monday nights. We're too busy on Friday to show up there as well. So I don't know.
I do have to say that there is a good out with this, that it's somewhat of a blessing that they don't have general managers anymore or authority figures.
Yeah.
Because then people can't go to that person and complain about it. And it's like, well, who is it? You know, it's like now no one knows. So it's still kind of fun to me. Because every time they're on, I'm trying to figure out who it is. So.
Yeah, and it's been changing, like the body sizes and types out there, and so there's a lot of speculation who it is. And the rumor is they don't know yet, and it kind of sounds like they booked themselves into a corner. That like Vince apparently came up with this idea on the fly of having like this rioted type group to come and just create havoc on WWE programming, but that was it. No, like major.
Well, and it makes sense too that it would be Raw, because I think we talked about this last week. That SmackDown is so loaded with their roster right now that Raw just makes sense to inject some more people. It's a longer show anyway.
Yeah, totally.
How often do we need to see Andrade and Angel against the Street Profits? So.
I know, and that's the thing. It's like I will say this about Raw in the last few weeks, and I forgot who was on Twitter. They posted some stats from the last couple months, just how many repeat matches or rematches, I should say, of these different rivalries: Street Profits, Angel Garza, Andrade. I mean, just there's a lot of these. Like we've been seeing the repeat Apollo and Her Business. We've been seeing a lot of these same storylines just repeating themselves, and they're not progressing or moving on. So,
what did you guys both think of Raw Underground this week?
Well, okay. I enjoy seeing Titus O'Neil go out there and kick some
like
ass.
A monster.
Yeah, because he's hardly been used in the last couple of years. But apparently, from what I read online, that was filmed last week, so it was just a leftover match.
Let's aside from what the internet says.
Yes.
Like what are your guys' thoughts this week? I mean, did you feel a little bit better about like Titus O'Neil hasn't been used, Riddick Moss hasn't been used, Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir haven't been used, but like they come into this setting,
I'm not
and all of a sudden it's kind of like, huh?
I'm not feeling Riddick Moss.
I guess for me, It's just like, what's the point of all this? Like, where's this leading to? That's my more takeaways. Like, okay, I listen, like, I kind of enjoy it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's like, boom, like it's a match. Boom, they move on to the next thing, and then they come back again. So it's like sprinkled in during that third hour. Also, I enjoy Shane McMahon's interaction with the guy at the door, the big tall guy, the giant
I can't
ninja.
remember his name.
Yeah,
Baba I don't know.
Yeah, he was signed. Was it beginning of this year, end of last year? But I enjoyed his. He like, "What's up, big man?" And like he gives him a fist, and he opens the door. Like I think that's kind of cool. He's like a badass doorman security. Like I want to see him one day just get pissed off and go in there and kick ass.
Oh, that's gonna come.
Yeah. So like, okay, like from a change of scene. What's that?
Do you hate it?
I don't hate it,
indifferent?
But
you're indifferent.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Like
I'm fine with it.
I try to. Hate to me is a very strong word. So it's like I dislike it, and I feel like, okay, if you're gonna do these matchups, why not just do them in the ring? Like ultimately, that's why
that's the point. Like you could do it in the ring, but you can get a bunch of these quicker and just kind of show off. Like, okay. I've been rewatching a bunch of Superstars lately. Do you remember Superstars? WWE.
Yeah.
So last night,
they're all squash matches, and it's like that's what this is their version of that. But you don't have to do.
We were watching the network last night, and we were skimming through it, and we saw Superstars on there.
For some reason, Superstars. There's only 2 years. It's like 92
and 93.
That's
I want 96.
It's so good.
I want to see 96, and I want to see an Austin squash match where he used the stunner for the first time.
Yeah, so
on Superstars.
Come on, network. Update some more matches up there. But anyway, so okay, I get what you're saying there, Richard. As far as for some of the talent that's not being used regularly in the ring, there's a way of getting them out there and their version of squash matches in 2020. Okay, I get.
And I think you get to see a different side of someone that you're not going to see in a wrestling ring, like Titus O'Neil. Like that looked as real as it could get with Titus.
Yeah.
I was like, oh God, he's terrifying all of a sudden.
I'll still watch it, and we'll see what happens. So I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. So, all right, let's jump on over to Wednesday night not Wednesday night. It was Tuesday, Super
Tuesday
for NXT this week, and a couple quick little news bits I just want to touch on as well. So it was officially announced that Mauro Ranallo is leaving WWE. He's no longer going to be the play-by-play voice of NXT, which, by the way, Richard, I thought of this. Do we need to change our intro? Like,
No.
like,
Just go with it.
we're keeping fake Morrow employed that way.
It's less likely he'll find it now.
Or maybe we can hire the actual Morrow to do it now.
Yeah.
He needs some money. Maybe have a cameo. If he's on Cameo, we can have him record it.
Oh, God.
We should totally look that up if he's on Cameo. And that's the other thing was like, I was thinking about that on a side note, like how many WWE superstars currently on Cameo, look at them and see if there's any of them worth buying before they go away after the month. Just
You're in radio. You can get all these people.
I know Jericho and Becky Lynch did them for me for free. So anyway, so anyway, it was officially announced Mauro Ranallo officially done with WWE, and we touched on it pretty heavily last week. But Richard, any quick little new thoughts that you want to mention real quick about this?
Best of luck in your future endeavors, Morrow.
Yeah, Tommy, you told me he's going to be still doing Bellator and he's on Showtime, right?
Yeah, so he'll be fine doing Showtime boxing and Bellator as well.
Yeah, so he has, and then I from what I've heard, like his mom's been ill up in Canada, so he's been helping her out, and also I think he has like a charity or something with the mental illness.
Yes.
That he's a part of, that he also wants to devote some more time to. So he has other projects he wants to be a part of and get into. So listen, I'm going to miss Mauro Ranallo calling those takeover matches featuring Johnny Gargano kicking out 20 times in one match, and anytime
The Mamma Mia.
Yeah, the Mamma Mia's, Adam Cole doing a Canadian Destroyer, or excuse me, Panama Sunrise. Anyway, I'm going to miss him in the takeover setting, but nonetheless, wish him the best, as Richard, as you said, future endeavor. So
I like Vic Joseph, by the way.
Yeah, and then also it was announced that Wade Barrett, so these last week, and he's going to be on NXT this week as well. He's been in talks with WWE to join full time as an announcer again for NXT, and even maybe do some work with NXT UK. So last week and this week, they filmed both episodes already, but it was kind of like a feeling out process to see, is he comfortable doing play by play for NXT? I mean, we know he can do it from his time in NWA. So anyway, as far as I saw online, no new status. Still negotiations going on. So I think it'd be cool if he joins NXT full time. But of course, we'll be bummed to see him no longer on NWA Power. And like I said, we talked about this quite a bit last week. So if it plays out for him to join WWE, that'd be great. But that also, can't stress, it's just for an announcer. He's not going to be return wrestling. So, and then also something else, we got a little confirmation. Nigel McGuinness is back with NXT, specifically NXT UK. So he's going to be doing the play-by-play color commentary over there as well. And so we're all happy about that. Even though I think we all agree we want him on NXT Prime, but just have him back in some capacity, we'll take it. NXT UK, they're gaining their big launch in mid-September. So I think we talked about this. I was talking to some coworkers about this. I think it's going to be a big restart for NXT UK. So I'm assuming if you didn't watch it a lot before, this might be a good time to start watching again. New, fresh storylines.
More Walter.
So, all right. Listen, this episode of NXT, the main focus was the second half. One match only. That's all we need to focus on. I know we're running on time, so let's just focus on that. The Fatal 4-Way Iron Man match for the crown a new NXT champion, because as we mentioned last time, Karrion Kross had to relinquish the title due to injury. So we saw Finn Balor, Adam Cole, Bebe, also Johnny Gargano, and
Tommaso Ciampa.
That's right. Fatal 4-Way match, 60 minutes. All four of them going at it, and so should I just go? I mean, of course, by the time you're listening to this, you already know the outcome. So the match ended in a tie between Finn Balor and Adam Cole, both getting two falls each.
The damnedest tie you've ever seen.
I know.
Because
perfect timing.
I'm looking at the clock. I'm looking at the referee's hand, and each second going down is his hand touching the mat. And I'm like, oh my God, that was the best timing I've ever seen on the count.
Kudos to Adam Cole for. So I was just going to say,
kudos to Adam Cole. Kudos to Drake Younger.
Yeah. So
my God.
So we saw, Finn Balor. I mean, all four of them had one fall each, and that was, I think, up until like the last 15 minutes or so. Please correct me on that. But all of a sudden, Finn Balor got another pinfall and was up 2-1-1-1-1 against the rest of them. And then Adam Cole, Finn Balor, he hit the coup de grace. And he was like, he got the second fall and he was like on his knees, like kind of like not necessarily celebrating, but just I think taking in. It's like, all right, he got the second fall with.
He's just waiting until the clock runs out.
Yeah, like I think at that point it was like 20 seconds, something left like that. And he was like, everyone was like, oh my God, he won. He's going to win. He's going to win. But
And
Adam
then,
Cole
out of nowhere,
hits the last shot or the last ride.
the last ride.
Last shot.
The last shot.
Oh.
Undertaker's last ride, sorry.
Yeah.
So he hit the last shot. Bam!
Pins him.
And then he's like, Finn Balor's laying there like dead weight on his stomach. He's trying to push him over, roll him over. And then, Richard, as you said, it was just amazing. 1, 2, 3. Got it in before time ran out. Both of them were saying, I'm the champion. Which, okay. Now, for Adam Cole, I don't know why he was saying, I'm the champion. At best, it was a tie. So
we were thinking, oh, are they going to go into sudden death?
Yeah, overtime on this episode. Finn Balor, he had a case when he said, I'm the champion, as far as like Adam Cole's pinfall came after time was up. So anyway, I was a little confused by that. I was like, wait, Adam Cole should not be saying like, I'm the champion. It's a tie. So anyway, William Regal came out and announced that the two of them will have a match next Tuesday on Super Tuesday, Part 2 for NXT, and the winner will become NXT champion.
So this past week, they basically put they gave us the bait and switch.
Yeah, Richard, what are your thoughts on pretty much bait and switch?
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Really? I mean, of course, I was a little bummed, but then I was like, listen, from a business and ratings.
And here's the other thing. Everything else on this show was fluff. It was all built on the main event, and they have to have something for next week.
Yeah.
So now we have a title match for next week, and then during the rest of the show, they'll build to what's going to come after that. For the next week.
Listen, it's a two-parter. It's to get people to tune in next week. So as much as I was a little pissed at, like, damn it, like bait and switch here, I'm like, from a business standpoint, it's a good way to get people to tune in next week. So you keep that momentum going because they had a huge ratings this week on NXT television. So I get it from a business standpoint. So I anticipate.
It was done so good though too. That count was like, I had to rewind it just to make sure I saw what I was thinking I saw. Because it was like, oh my God, the referee doesn't even see the clock, and he's just in perfect sync with it.
Yeah. And so I was like, I would love to analyze it. Like, was there any doctoring? Because this was pre-tape. So I wondered, like, did they perfectly timed it? I wonder if anyone actually timed it. Was such a full hour to the dot? Like, I would love if anyone actually took the time to analyze that. But anyway, I was just going to say.
Well, did you watch it on TV or did you watch it elsewhere?
I watched. Actually, no, I was streaming. I was watching it live. I was watching the East Coast first.
Okay, so then you saw they showed it throughout commercials.
Yeah,
like it didn't stop.
Yeah, the match itself started like at I think like their entrances to the ring was like quarter till the first hour. You know, that took a few minutes for everyone to all four of them get to the ring. Then I think the match started probably about 5 minutes before the top of the hour, and therefore they had the full hour, and then they had a few minutes left in the second hour for William Regal to come out and make the announcement.
Right.
So they cut out enough time for this whole match to take place and have the fallout right there at the conclusion. So we're going to get Finn Balor and Adam Cole, the two longest reigning NXT champions, going at it next Tuesday. This is a matchup I've been looking for, and I think even early this year when we were trying to figure out or predict who's Adam Cole's next opponent going to be, I was hoping for Finn Balor back then, because Finn Balor, I was anticipating like around because I think around WrestleMania weekend is when Adam Cole passed Finn Balor's record at the time for longest title reign. So I thought it would make sense Finn Balor to come challenge him. It's like, listen, I don't want you breaking my record. I challenge you for that championship as a way to stop you from breaking my record. But it never happened. But now we're finally getting it. So Richard, early predictions, who you think's going to win here?
Cole.
Ooh, okay. How about you, Tommy?
I got to go with Finn.
I'm going with Finn, too. All right. We'll wait and see how this plays out. I'm excited for it, man. It's going to be good stuff there. All right. Let's move on over to Friday Night SmackDown. I know we got a limited time here, so we'll go blaze through just all some of the highlights from this episode. First things first for the episode, we saw Roman Reigns, the new Universal Champion, after winning it at Payback, coming out with his new What's the term? Special advisor to the tribal chief? I think that's the name.
Sure.
It's a mouthful. Coming out together, and they cut a promo and pretty much explain their actions and why they align themselves with one another. So, Richard, your thoughts on this opening promo?
Oh man, this was better than I thought it was going to be. The Yard is now an island, and heel Roman is money all day.
Oh my god,
that is just like the swagger that he had as a babyface. Nothing's changed. Now he's just the guy we wanted him to be.
It's amazing, like, how many people online are like, oh, this is so awesome. I'm like, wait a sec. It's not that much different. Like, literally, he combed it, he has his hair combed back in a bun, and he has a beard now, but he's just the way he kind of walks now. It's a little more, it's just a slight difference. He's not wearing a shield. He has a shirt that said win and go, or wherever the new shirt he has now that says.
Yeah.
And he has
badass.
And he has the title over his shoulder, and then it's Paul Heyman walking for him and doing the talking for him in the ring. And like, that's it. It was a very subtle change in his mannerisms, but now it's like all of a sudden he's got that cool factor. It's like, oh my god, like, I don't know, part of me was like, want to call some of the fans out for being hypocrites. It's
they are.
But it's like,
well, I mean, I think part of this too, like
the perception.
My turn off with him in the past has been the keeping the Shield gear. Because he was never the coolest looking guy in the Shield gear. It was Moxley.
Yeah.
He was the only one that really did anything for it because he didn't have a good body. Mm-hmm. Like Roman has like the Rock's body, and you're covering him up.
Yeah.
If you got it, flaunt it. So now he's I mean, it's pretty much the same swagger. Mm-hmm. There's a little bit more danger to him now.
Yeah, it's amazing just how people's perceptions, if you just change a couple things, a different shirt, the way you combed his hair, and it just his body language walking to the ring, it's amazing. And just what your perception of him as a heel now, all of a sudden he's got that cool factor. And I was like, what? But anyway, Paul Heyman, long story short, to sum it up, it just sounds like Paul Heyman said Roman found him when he was kicked to the curb from WWE. Roman went to him because Roman also felt like kicked to the curb from WWE. So they both felt WWE turned their backs. They found each other. And so I was like, okay. And listen, Roman or Paul Heyman said it wasn't like necessarily the fans. It was more just WWE turned their back on both of them. And it kind of makes sense as far as real life events going on when Roman, left before WrestleMania happened. Paul Heyman being fired from his job. So it kind of makes sense as far as the motivation for the two of them working together. So very interesting to see this new partnership together. Great promo. Paul Heyman a little more whispering as far as, and even Roman Reigns in the backstage segments with Jey Uso, he was more whispering and more, but even condescending attitude as well. Yeah. So he's whispering.
Kind of he's trying to feel out Roman still on what his place is.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's not saying paranoid, but he's just like bitter at everyone around him, if that makes sense, that mentality. So very interesting promo there. I'm all for it. I just like how Roman was standing there the whole time staring at the camera, and his mannerisms there was like, wow. Like, you could tell he, as far as he says, like, listen, a monster and a fiend took the title. I came back and I took it right back from them, and shows how badass he was. So awesome stuff, and we'll love to break this down more as time goes by. Also, we saw probably the other biggest thing from the night. We saw Bayley and Sasha Banks take on Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, a rematch for the women's tag team titles. And Bayley and Sasha Banks both lost here. Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler retained the titles. And the big thing was we saw Bayley and Sasha trying to get out of the ring after Sasha hurt her knees really bad during the match. And Sasha was kind of refusing medical help, so Bayley was trying to help her out. As soon as they got out from under the ropes, bam! Bayley nailed Sasha with a kick to the face and started beating the crap out of her and officially breaking up the best friends here. So, Richard, your whole takeaway from this moment?
I think we buried the lead on this and the Iconics and the Riot Squad matches. Both matches were stellar, the women's tag matches on TV this week.
Yep.
There was a spot in this match that I absolutely loved, and Sasha has Nia up, and she's trying to powerbomb her on the floor, and Bayley came over and gave her a stunner where her neck would hit the ropes, and then Sasha powerbombed Nia on the floor, and it was just kind of like, God damn, that's some good tag team work. And then the double cross happens at the end, and it's like, oh, this is stiff.
Yeah, it was a great match overall, and like, listen, seeing Bayley just go crazy on Sasha Banks, I thought like, wow, they're really going for it right now in the Thunderdome. Like, I kind of thought maybe they're going to wait till crowds return for this big switch and, you know, turning on each other. And listen, we saw Sasha, Tommy, you saw the Bayley put Sasha in the chair and, like, you know, like snapped her neck with it.
Yes.
And Tom, you said very much like Stone Cold and
Brian Pillman.
Yeah, so just, wow, the callback there, we interpreted that. But then we saw Sasha Banks get taken out on a stretcher in an ambulance, taken away. Richard, here's my idea. Like, let's write off Sasha Banks with this for months. Have her come back have her come back at the Royal Rumble, win the Royal Rumble, challenge Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship at WrestleMania. Maybe even main event the show by that point. I mean, they have the history with their takeover matches as far as how good they are going at it together. So I want this, like, let's let this breathe now. Let this take a few months. I don't want them to come back, Sasha come back in a couple weeks and challenge her at Clash of Champions. Like, don't waste it there. This is WrestleMania type match here. So write her off for months. Have her return to Royal Rumble for a big pop there. And hopefully a crowd will be in attendance for that as well. Just want to acknowledge real quick, we see kind of more storyline building between Sami Zayn, Jeff Hardy, and AJ, who's for the Intercontinental Championship. So we'll see how that plays out some more. We saw Bray Wyatt, Firefly Funhouse, said a new friend is coming to the house. We saw Alexa Bliss even more engaged with that.
Did you notice Alexa's jacket?
No, the leather jacket was a leather, right?
It looked like something one of the Wyatts would wear.
Oh, I didn't look closely. I saw the little critter in the background. I noticed that. So, Alexa Bliss, it looks like she could become a member of the Firefly Funhouse. I don't know. So, still engaged to see how that plays out. And then we saw the main event, the Fatal 4-Way. So, Paul Heyman early in the show says, on Raw, they had a triple threat to determine the new number one contender. Well, we're going to up it, have a Fatal 4-Way. So we saw Jey Uso, who was a last-minute replacement for Big E, who got beat up from Sheamus in the back. Sheamus, King Corbin, and Matt Riddle. The winner was going to take on Roman Reigns at Clash of Champions. Jey Uso, big victory, sneaking out a big win after Frog Splash, after Matt Riddle, I believe, landed a move on one of the guys. And so the story there was throughout the night, Jey Uso was trying to talk to Roman, his cousin, and Roman was kind of brushing him off and not giving him the time of the day. And it's like they didn't want to be around him. And so Jey Uso got the win. He said, I'm going to do good for the family as well. And so it's going to be interesting to see them go at it. I don't see Jey Uso getting the win here. I think Roman's going to be champion for a long time. But Richard, just any quick thoughts on that main event?
Loved it.
Yeah, very exciting.
The way Jey won as well with that just frog splash out of nowhere was just kind of like, whoa.
Yeah.
I'm always intrigued when they do something like, this is not a match we've ever seen, and this is not a match we would typically think to see. Yeah. Like, do you remember, like, maybe 18 years ago or so on Raw, they did, like, Triple H and Bubba Ray Dudley.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so odd that you can't really call it. Like, you in the back of your head, you know who's going to win, but at the same time, it's like, well, it's so weird. Maybe they do something different here. So,
yeah.
We'll see. I mean, I'm looking forward to it, but my money's on Roman.
Yeah, totally. It's going to be interesting. So, quickly, we'll run down, what was it, Match of the Week and Show of the Week. So, Richard, how about you?
Match of the Week was that Iron Man match, and Show of the Week was SmackDown. SmackDown was damn entertaining.
Me too. Same thing for me. Just the NXT main event, but overall SmackDown was a very fun show. Action-packed for 2 hours. How about you, Tommy?
Match of the Week was the Iron Man match, and my Show of the Week was NXT.
Oh, okay, cool. That's good. All right, see that. So, listen, a lot of stuff happened on this week for WWE, and we're already excited for next week, what they have lined up for everyone. So, all right, on that note, let's go home for tonight. Richard, where can all the Kliqsters find you online?
You guys can find me on Instagram at pro_wrestling_101 and nowhere else.
How about you, Tommy?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at IronFist1982.
And you can follow me, Baby Huey, at facebook.com/Baby Huey Official, Twitter and Instagram at Baby Huey 83, at In The Kliq as well. Please subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Please go back and listen to the interview I did with the NWA Women's Champion Thunder Rosa, who had a great match at All Out this weekend. A lot of fun talking to her, and I know it was very hectic for her. She had a lot of press going on, and so I would love to get her on real soon where things kind of die down and it's not so hectic for her, but she's a lot of fun to talk to. So really happy to see her represent the Bay Area, and just glad to officially say she's a friend of the show, and we can have some more conversations with her in the future. And on that note, let's go home for tonight, and that's the bottom line, because Baby Huey said so.